Mr. Jimmy
I'm
Townsend. How
good.
you doing?
I thought they had gobbled you up or something in Chi-Town.
No, they did gobble
Technical
me
difficulty.
up. But I would tell you, man, when I had got your ebook. First of all, one of my subscribers sent me your book.
Oh yeah.
And I said, well, let me get the ebook because I feel like we should support each other.
Right.
And the name of your book is called Snakes in the Plane, Snakes in the Gardens. Let
Yeah,
me
there
get
you
that
go.
clear
Yeah.
because there were so many snakes in your life. And I first found out about your show or your image on Tasha K show.
Right.
And you was in Memphis and you sat down with her and everybody knew you as, Marjorie Harvey ex-husband. But they didn't know that you had a story way before you knew Margie existed.
That's right.
So, what made you come out with this book, Snakes in the Garden, naming it that? Because when you hear that, I'm like, wow, what made you come out with that book?
Well, you know what? You pretty much and first of all, let me say hello to your fans, my fans, and your fans.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be on your show. But listen, in answer to your question, snakes in the garden, it really was a biblical concept for me because when you think about the garden, my mindset was the Garden of Eden, and as we know, the serpent, which was Satan, which is a representation of Satan. So, and then I dealt with that from a characteristic perspective. Different characters of different people. Uh, and if you caught some of my interviews, I always give the analogy of snakes in reference to character of people. Because I gave three different kinds of snakes. I gave the garden snake, the rattlesnake, and the black mamba. So if you deal with the characteristics or character from a garden snake perspective, those of you know about snakes, a garden snake is relatively harmless, right? Um, their bite means nothing. They can even bite you if they do bite, and it means nothing. They're not poisonous, right? But we know a rattlesnake is very poisonous. But one thing about a rattlesnake, uh, it will give you a warning, telling you, "Hey, I'm a snake. I bite." You see what I'm saying? Um, so that's what a lot of people they'll give you a little hint about their character, telling you, to back off now. I bite. I'm a snake. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yes,
but
sir.
a black mamba, as we know, he gives no warning. When he comes at you, he comes to destroy you. His bite is very, very poisonous. So I just dealt with the character people. We know we got some people with characters like that. When they come at you, man, they come and destroy you. So
Absolutely. When the book opened up, you talk about being in that courtroom. You talk
yeah,
about the racist judge. You
mm-hmm.
name the racist DA. You
Yeah,
name the racist law that really got you locked up. But something really caught my eye is
yeah.
that Marjorie warned you about your right hand man that you were doing. Y'all both was in the drug game together. He was your right hand man. He knew all of your secrets. But she warned you and said that the man, don't trust him. Quote, he's a snake.
She did. She did. Well, she never did like my co-defendant. That was just, and then when you think about it, sometimes women have what's the word they use? Premonitions about certain things that men don't really get off the bat. So she did. She had premonitions about Pete as far as his character. Some flaws that I didn't see, but yes, she did. Yes, she did. And from a chauvinistic perspective, as you read the book, I just waved her off as not knowing what she was talking about. But she was right on point at that particular time. She really was.
And when she put it out there in the atmosphere, of course, you didn't believe her. It hunted you, I believe, for decades. Her words that you should have took heed to her
Yeah, yeah, they
being
did.
there. But you also talk about the side chicks that was there, your women or your ex girlfriends,
Yeah,
current girl, all in the courtroom. Some was on your, some hated Marjorie. One particular woman you put in a book that wanted to kill Marjorie. That if murder was legal, she would have did it.
oh yeah.
But she hated her guts. Why do you think people hated Marjorie back in the day? Was she just a bitch? Was she a diva? Like, why was she getting so much hatred from your previous girlfriends?
And let me make this perfectly clear because I always tell people, actually that's my ex-wife. She is the mother of our two kids. Actually, she got three now, but the third one, Laura, is not mine, but Jason and Morgan are our kids. Now, back in the day, when I said it, Marjorie is totally different. Her whole character is totally different from what she was when she was with me. And I'm keeping it real. I mean, she was very affable, and lovable, caring, and she was. Even though she had her little flaws, as we all do. But when it came to me, I truly believe she loved me with all her heart, and she told me that all she really wanted was to have my babies in a house with a picket fence. And just saying that simplicity that she was trying to be descriptive of. She just wanted the simple things in life. Now, as far as when I say people hated her, you got to understand these was women that I had dated, and that, you see what I'm saying? Of course, they hated her gut. But people as a whole, as far as I knew, they really liked Marjorie. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but when I say that again, I was talking about the women mostly that like call themselves loving me, or just really, whatever it was.
So, and then we get from that. Then you go to your childhood from the South, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
You had activists as your cousin.
Yeah.
That
Fannie Lou
Yeah,
Hamer.
Fannie Muhamer, very aware. You loved her, and you
Yeah.
remember her from your childhood.
Right.
And then also you put in a book, you may be related to Oprah. It's a maybe. It could be because y'all grew up around the same area.
Yeah, Kosciuszko, Mississippi. And when I said that, I was being facetious, Of course, I know she's not. I was hoping she would. Maybe she would put a little money in my pocket.
But you did put an LOL in there,
I
and
did.
I said, okay, but your childhood wasn't. It was a lot of abuse. I mean, from your father being a functioning alcoholic, and in that you really talk about you even being kidnapped, and I didn't even know that really it sounded like a scene out of a movie of your father kidnap you. Why did he do that? For the people that want to know, what made your father just take you all away, like kidnap you from your
With
other
Marquise, I
relatives?
should make him buy the book to find that out. I give
Okay,
everything.
okay,
I give everything. I don't want to give
you'll let
everything.
him buy the book.
Because you know why? That's a real serious plot
Okay,
of my life. So I would like for them to read the book and see why
okay.
he
But
kidnapped.
that was in the case, because I've always looked at, okay, people that do that was drug dealer in the gang. I look
Mm-hmm.
at what was their childhood like. Your childhood was a lot of abuse. I
Yeah.
mean, you were poor, and not my definition of poor, because my definition of poor was still, if you look at my poor versus your child, like I'm living in a high rise. You had no running water. You this is how you grew up in Mississippi. And I think a lot of us young people have to understand what you had to go through to make my life better,
Yeah.
the sacrifices that you had to go through.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I kind of like, oh my gosh, you went through a lot. And I'm surprised you shared all that. What made you go to your childhood, just put it all your business out there, like your
Well,
business
let me say this, and when you try to make a distinction between poor, right? So you got to remember, there's poor and there's poor. You
Okay.
see, you would consider to be classified as being poor. Not having very just a little bit. But poor is when you scraping the bottom of the barrel, when you had to tie your shoes up when they flapping with wire. You see what I'm saying? And that's poor. Poor is having eating 3 meals a day: oatmeal, cornmeal, and no meal. You see, so that's being poor. You you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's two
Yeah,
different
and
things.
so I would be classified at that time as being poor. Yeah, we
Mm.
poor, real poor.
As I look, before we get into the meat and the potatoes of this, did you ever blame your parents? Because it seemed to me like you kind of blame your father, but do you blame them for growing up the way that you did? Did you ever had like, oh, I blame them for me being poor?
No, because like, and you got to remember, keep in mind that era, the civil rights era, pretty much, not too long having, uh, our people coming out of slavery, really, So So being poor was a way of life, especially Mississippi, Alabama, all the southern states, South Carolina, all those things. So, I mean, it was very poor. And even what made it even worse was, remember, we had World War II that devastated the country as a whole. So, and you got to remember also, blacks always got the burnt of being poor and not having. So, yeah, no, I don't blame them for being poor, because you got to keep in mind they did the best that they could under the circumstances and conditions that they were in. You see, so they dealt with it. And when you look over our history as black people, you see we was very resilient. Come on, man. So just keeping it real, no, there's no way in the world I could blame them for their condition of being poor. That was just the hand dealt to them at that time. And look, I'm here, and they dealt with it, right?
Absolutely. I hear your point on that. And then
Mm-hmm.
also you talk about, and you talk about your past of being abused, sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
And when you said that, I dropped the phone. I'm like, not too many men talk about being abused.
Yeah.
They don't talk about that. Women are now being believed or is being mainstream, but black boys or black men
Mm-hmm.
talking about sexual abuse, they rarely talk about it. Why did
Right.
you want to share that? I'm not going to get into who did it, that he should read the book, but why did you want to share that story?
Well, I wanted to share it because, and really, my whole thing is focused at the younger generation. We're grown ups too, basically, because I understand and recognize and realize that in a lot of households, there's plenty of skeletons in the closet as far as child abuse. We know that being molested by, various people that's very close. And when you do a study on being child abuse, you'll see it's always somebody that's either in the immediate family or close to the family that the kids have put their trust in. And and so my whole thing was to speak out against that. Are we still alive? Because I see a little.
Absolutely. You still alive. Yes, absolutely. We still alive. I'm
Okay.
actually making sure that I get your clear understanding of that,
Oh yeah.
sharing that, because I look at the data. It's still not the real data of how many black boys get sexually assaulted, because a
That's
lot
right.
of black boys don't report it. And for
That's right.
you didn't share. When did you share that? Other than your book, did you tell like your inner circle, your children, your family that this is the first time they're finding this out?
No, you know what? I think maybe my brother, the one next to me, and no, that's something I really didn't share. Because that's something like you just said initially. It could have been, you know what? It could have been devastating to me if my father. There's one thing that was positive that he did, but unbeknown that he was doing something positive at that time, was to kidnap us and take us out of Mississippi to Memphis. Because I could have. Who knows what could have happened with this in person? With this molestation. It was simple at that time, but it could have been real ugly. You see what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
that's so. And back to your question too, as far as young black men today, kids today is, they are the same way. They don't have anything when they're molested. You don't know what's been told to them, so a lot of things they hold within because they don't know how to verbalize it and deal with it. Tell them what this person has told them. If you tell your mother, father, I'm gonna kill them. We don't know, so they hold that within. And I'm telling you, I know it. Hold it within, put a bandage on it. It only fester and get, it's something they carry on and on. I've heard a lot of interviews of some young men and women. They finally came out and talked about just how much it hurted them, hindered them from going forth in life. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's really my focus. That's why I'm just coming out in my book. I'm being very transparent, and I'm just calling it as it is. And I think I have a right to do that because for people that don't know, I spent 27 years in federal prison on a nonviolent crime. There's no way, and did 27 years on it. There's no way that should have happened. But then again, it should have happened because it happened, but it was all God's time and plan. Okay.
When that happened, when you put that in the book, being in that courtroom, were you shocked at the sentence from coming down from the judge? Were you surprised?
You used the word shocked.
Yeah, were you like, oh,
I can't think of an adjective that should be greater than shocked.
okay.
Okay, give me an adjective that's greater than shocked. So actually, that's where I was. I'll use that for now. I was shocked because I was under the impression that I would get at least 25 years. There's no way I thought that I would get that life sentence without parole, which was basically a death penalty shot. Because the only way I was supposed to came out of prison was in a box. But well, we know that didn't work out because here I am talking to you.
Yes, and when I looked that you did address that President Obama, not Steve Harvey, got you out of prison because the rumor was Steve made a phone call. Margie told him to make a phone call to the White House. He talked to Obama, President Obama, and he got you out. But that's not the case. That wasn't the case at all.
Absolutely not. Explanation point. But and that was one of the things that I held against him and Marjorie, really, just from that perspective, because they had the power to when the clemencies from the administration, the Obama administration, came into effect, that they was going to give certain inmates clemency. Then Steve did. They was in a perfect position to because they had Obama's ear. They was whining and dining with him. Obama was constantly on Steve Harvey's show as he was campaigning. So there was and I know that it ain't what you know, it's who you know. And I saw that to be a fake, but long story short, they did not, to the hurt of not only me, but my daughter and my son. But I kept it moving. And as we can see, God still worked it out for me.
And you here to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into all the details of what made you get into crime, but you came from the southern parts to Chicago. I would like to ask you this. I'm in Chicago, born and raised. What made you come here out of every place to do it here in Chicago? What made you come to Chicago?
And again, without giving away the story, you got to remember, Marquise.
Right.
Because that's intriguing. You know what?
Why not Detroit? Why not Philly? Why Chi-Town?
Yeah, but let's don't take that away from the readers, because
Okay. But you chose
because
this.
I mean, like it's very intriguing how I did end up in Chicago.
Okay, it's very intriguing I ended in Chicago, but I do want to ask you this: your children, I believe all of them changed their last name to Harvey. As a man, how did you deal with that, knowing? Because one thing being a father is you give your child your last name. That's like a tradition.
Yeah.
Them changing it to Harvey, do that make you a failure? Was that a slap in the face? Was there a portrayal to you as a man, as their father?
Well, let me say this, and again, it wasn't them. It was only Jason, my baby boy, my daughter. Like I said, I only had 2 kids.
So it wasn't all your children; it was just one.
No, it was just Jason, the son, and ironically, Jason. In fact, I wasn't even married to Marjorie when Morgan was conceived. We weren't married. We got married later, but Jason was. We were married when Jason was born, of course, and so yeah. And when you read the story, you'll see just how hurtful it was to me, how much it hurted me, because Jason. I mean, we had a very good relationship, even from me being incarcerated. We communicated for 20 years. I mean, basically every month. So, and he really loved me, and he confided in me, and trusted me. So, when that did happen, it was kind of devastating to me. But I want you to read it to see read the book to see exactly how I handled the situation.
And when I tell you guys, the book he's dropped, as they say, you're laying it out. And I remember you saying that you was writing a book when you were in prison. Like you started it in prison. Mm-hmm. You started to put it to work.
Yeah.
But it was some controversy with this book because originally it was on Amazon, and then one day it disappeared. The rumor is they're saying that Steve Harvey and Marjorie got it taken down from Amazon. Everybody did a video on it. So what happened? Why did it get removed, or did you remove it from Amazon? Did Steve remove it? Did Marjorie remove it? What happened with that?
Neither. You know what, Marquise, you deal with the social media. Right. So you know how the social media is, all kind of rumors and mistruths. So, and then look at the title of my book. I don't know if you can see it. Let me see that way. You see, it's
Yeah.
Jimmy Townsend's story, The Untold Truth. And see, basically where I come back, where I fit in, I mean, where all this fit together is that I'm coming to tell you the truth, being transparent. So no, as an answer to your question, no, Marjorie Harvey nor Steve Harvey had anything to do with that. It was, I was going through a moment to where I was actually second guessing myself. Should I write the book? Should I just let the book go forward? Because people didn't know. I wanted people to understand, because a lot of people in their mind, they thought that I was writing the book to throw Marjorie under the bus. But that was never the case, because I'll never forget, she is the mother of my two kids. Even though she done went crazy, she really has since she married Steve Harvey. But, you know, I still love her unconditionally from the perspective, because she's the mother of my kids. But now I'm writing. I'm just being everybody. It's not that they're in the way. I'm just writing my life story, and I think I deserve to write my own little life story, because 27 years in prison, yeah, that gives me the right, I think, to write my life story, and it just is what it is. Let the chips fall where they may. Mm-hmm.
And you say she went crazy. Now, Steve and Marjorie is going through some controversy. It came out that he called her cheating on. Steve called Marjorie cheating with the bodyguard. That they are supposed to get a divorce. That's like the rumor. Steve came out and said it's all a lie. Do you believe any cheating going on?
Well, first of all, let me say this here. I really, I don't give a rat's behind about that. I mean, they're doing, they deserve it. And that's another story in itself. I really don't. I don't communicate with Marjorie. Haven't communicated her since I've been out of prison. I only communicate really with my daughter. We just got a close relationship, and everything that without giving it all up. Um, a lot of people, what you see on television, don't believe everything you see. Like I just said, don't believe everything you see or hear on social media. I will say this: Marjorie and my daughter, they are estranged, right? And our daughter, I should say, they are estranged. And without giving up the story, I will tell exactly why and everything that went down. And the only reason is not to throw her under the bus, because it's only because she, what did go down and what's going down is crazy, and she deserved to be called out. That's all it is. But it ain't nothing about in the past or, some kind of vindictiveness. Please don't uh, have that in your mindset, because it's not true. Because everything that happened in the past, I have forgiven everybody.
I feel that, but she's in the news, and you hear about Steve co-host Shirley Strawberry. You hear about
Oh
that,
yeah, yeah.
and that she said that Marjorie said that she's the help, and that
She said
Steve
she's a what? She said she's
that
a what?
the help. Like she looked
Oh
at her
yeah,
as
yeah.
the
That's
help.
right. Yeah, I thought you said a hoe.
Did you when you heard that? Do you think that Marjorie would say something that nasty to Steve employees? That she's that kind of bougie and nasty type of diva? That she would say that? Do you believe Shirley Strawberry?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, I do now. I mean, and I say that, and that's true, and that's only because she's allowed her marriage to Steve Harvey. Like I said, she didn't go crazy until she married Steve Harvey. She had a husband behind me. I was the first, and she had a second husband, Donnell Westbrook. I said Donnell Westbrook. Donnell Westbrook was a childhood friend of mine. I mean, Donnell Woods, I'm trying to say. In fact, that's Laurie. That's Laurie's dad. Everybody, a lot of people think Laurie's my child, but she's not.
So, hearing all of this, because a lot of people kept saying you was Lori Daddy, you did clear that up.
Mm-hmm.
Will you have a meeting with Marjorie? Would you ever? Because when the last time you physically seen her in person?
I haven't since I've been out of prison. That's a story in itself too. And that's why, and you know what? Let me say this here. Let me say this. And that's the reason for the third book. Actually, I was going to end the book. This is a series of three. This is the first series, then the second series. It's when I come back from Chicago to Memphis, right? I
I'm
tell how.
listening to you. I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
Okay. You know, as you read the book, as you have, you know that my whole thing was, how did I end up in Chicago? Because in Chicago, that's really the place that I got into the drug game. I tell all about how that happened. And I let people know it was never my desire to go to Chicago to be a drug dealer. It's just the way it happened. So as you read, you'll see that how I got caught up in the drug game. But then you'll see how I left Chicago and took the drug game back to Memphis. Um, and so I got on sidetrack. So what was your question?
Haven't met Marjorie. That another book is going to come out.
Oh yeah,
Uh, you haven't met her
yeah.
since you've been out of prison.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Typically, when a man get out of prison, it's a big family reunion. People make food. Did
Yeah,
anybody show up to prison? Did all
yeah.
your family show up? Your grandchildren? Was that a moment when you got out of prison?
And listen. As I was saying, that's the reason for the third book. Because when I
Okay.
tell you guys what happened after I got out of prison, my disillusionment, I'm telling you, it was so crazy. I'm to my from I got out of prison 2017. In my encounter, be mindful that I never saw Marjorie or talked to Marjorie again after she married Steve Harvey. But now I'm later on, I'm out of prison. All I want to do when I came out of prison, hear me now. All I wanted to do was bond with my family, with my kids and my grandkids. That was the desire of my heart because all of my kids, remember, 27 years in prison. So you know, all of my kids are grown now. Now they got grandbabies. So my mindset is to just bond with them and try to live through my grandkids what I miss with my kids. You see what I'm saying? So when you see what happened when I 2017 first initiation with my grandbaby from on Marjorie's side, when you see what went down, y'all ain't gonna believe it. I'm telling you, you probably gonna want to take your shotgun and go looking for Marjorie. What went down? I'm telling you, it was that devastating. But anyway, read the book, find out what happened.
Do you feel as though Marjorie is a gold digger? Because that's one of the main piece, that she's a gold digger, that she with people with money. Because when you did a show, when you did an episode with Tasha, you pretty much said she didn't pay you no mind until you got money, until you became a successful drug dealer.
No, I didn't say that.
So you didn't say that she didn't pay you no mind until you got money, to money
No,
started
you
to
got me mixed
roll.
up with Steve. You got me mixed up with Steve Harvey.
Oh, okay, okay, that's what Steve
That
said.
was Steve
Okay.
Harvey. No, that was Steve Harvey. No, Marjorie didn't even know Marjorie didn't even know I was a drug dealer.
So Marjorie dealt with you. She didn't know you had money or not, is what you're saying.
I wouldn't say that because I was doing some big things around the city, but she didn't know nothing about me
Okay.
until she didn't know. And I mean, it was a year before she dated me, before she even knew I was a drug dealer. Because I had presented myself as just a club owner, you know.
But she
But
knew you had money, is what I'm saying.
oh yeah, she knew I had money. You know,
If you were just a broke guy working at a regular store as a janitor, wish she would have paid you any attention.
I doubt that. I don't know, but being me a player that I was, she probably would have.
Now
Hey, hey,
speaking about Steve, because he got on the radio station, said that she did not mess up their marriage. His marriage was already ended. He didn't have any money. He was broke. Do you believe that Margie just dated a broke Steve Harvey? That she did not destroy his relationship with his previous wife? Do you believe his answer, or his answer defending Marjorie? Do you believe
yeah,
that?
I believe that because when you read my story, you're gonna see how. And I shouldn't put that on her because it was me being deceptive. She broke up my marriage, but not intentionally. I was being deceptive. But no, but I think Marge's concept was in life when it came to a man. Now that I look back, she hid a lot of things from me. I really didn't, and I was with the woman for 6 years. You know, straight lived with her for 5 of them. So, and like I said initially at the beginning, you know, I'm telling you, she was a kind, loving woman, a very affectionate, just like you know what I'm saying, very good cook, very good mother. I'm just keeping it real. I don't know what was in the back of her mind. I mean, I learned a lot that was going on in her mind after you know my breakup, and I went to prison, of course. But That was life itself. I mean, in itself. Yeah, I mean, she flatly told me while I was in prison that, I was gone. I was in prison. She was going to do whatever it take, to make sure that her babies, our babies, had what they want. So she said that to me. I'm talking about
Mhm.
straight up. So
And when I see Lori Harvey, she's so popular. A lot of people accuse Marjorie of being a pimp, pimping out her daughter to the highest bidder. Do you believe that Marjorie is pimping out Lori Harvey?
man, you asked some hard questions. Do I believe that? Now you know what, Marquise, you've been keeping up with the social media news or whatever. You know what happened. I mean, it's even like, listen, it's even like with Steve Harvey. If Steve Harvey hadn't had any money, well, it showed it. I mean, it's coming out now because they supposedly met and then he didn't have the money. So, she told him to kick rocks. But we see later when he became famous and was getting money, we see, oh, they lovely dovey. I love. But one thing I like to tell people, that's why I don't go for the okie doke, what's going on. I never did, even with the blended family, the tight blended family concept. I could see straight through that. And I know that's true because my daughter finally just confessed up that it was all for the camera. But even before she told me that, I knew, because I knew how the type of man that she really liked. And one thing I told that on I said that on Tasha K show. She hated men. She didn't like men with big lips, and she ended up marrying the biggest. The man with the biggest lips in Hollywood. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, this is nothing I'm making up. She told me that flatfoot. And as you can see, I got small lips.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah. So, but
So,
then she told me that. So, but
and she went
no,
against that because of the money, you think?
you know what? I'm just being honest and transparent. You ask me, yeah, I do, I do. She's very shrewd and cunning, and that's just, and you know what? I didn't see none of that. And again, I saw none of that when we were dating and married. I didn't. I just saw a loving woman that really loved her husband, loved family, and loved her kids. That's what I saw. And I'm just being honest. I ain't gonna embellish the truth. That's just the truth of the matter. So I didn't see a flip flop in her life until she married Steve Harvey.
Do you see them ever getting a divorce, Steve and Marjorie?
I always wondered about that, even with this rumor. I don't know if it's a rumor or truth. I really don't know. But I'll believe it when I see it. You see what I'm saying? That's my mindset. What do you think? See,
I
let me
can
be the interviewer.
I don't necessarily see her ever ending there unless Steve go bankrupt. Then I see her moving. But right now, along with the bag is a bag, she's going to stay. But I just when I saw the interview of you talking in the past when Steve called you a punk ass, go talk to your punk ass daddy, pretty much calling you a punk ass.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel hearing that Steve is dissing you in front of your own son?
Well, very quickly, let me tell you how that played out. Actually, I was minding my own business. A friend of mine from Indianapolis, um, she called me. She sent me this link, uh, and this link. Be mindful that Jason was 13 at the time, so it was kind of dated, and but I didn't know that anyway. And then still, it wouldn't have made a difference because when she sent me the link, in her mind, and her words to me were, "This is a friend of mine, Cynthia, out of Indianapolis." And she said to me, she said, "But Jimmy, you need to go on." She knew I wrote the book, but I had put it on the shelf because, like I said, my mindset was just to bond with my kids and my grandkids. So she said, "Jimmy, excuse me, you need to pull your book off the shelf and write your book because look what this mule mouth ass Steve Harvey said about you." You see what I'm saying? So when I looked at the link, and I couldn't believe he said that. You see, he was having this for those of you who hadn't seen the link. Jason, my son Jason and Steve, they had gotten some kind of dispute or something. So Jason retaliated by telling Steve that he wasn't his father. Jimmy Townsend was my dad. And so Steve, this is live. He's on his. That's when he had his Steve Harvey show,
Mm-hmm.
live show. And so Jason told him, when Jason said that, Steve retaliated by saying, "Listen, I love your mother, so I got to love you. I don't remember this. So, uh, where's your punk ass daddy now?" You see what I'm saying? man, and that just something shot through me. Because one thing about anybody know me that I wasn't a deadbeat dad. In fact, Jason wasn't even born at the time. But and Morgan had the best of everything, went to private school and all like that. So he left in the audience mind. I think that what I was like a deadbeat dad and was worthless, however his mindset. But he looked as stupid when he said that. But the audience did. They erupted with clapping and and all like that. So that really did something to me. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I'm human. I'm saying to myself, why would he say something like that to a 13-year-old? Especially about his father that had a life sentence, and I was down. I was at my lowest point in my life, and you kicked me when I'm down like that with my son. He should have never said that. So that's when that's when I really pulled the book off the shelf. That's why you're reading about this now, about my life
because
story.
of Steve words.
He initiated. He was one of the main. Yeah, he was one of the main uh, reason that I pulled it off the shelf. Yeah, yeah.
I want to ask you, have you ever met Steve in person? I know you say you didn't see Marjorie in decades. Have you ever met Steve in person?
No, I wouldn't. And you know what? It's a good thing it was, because that's why I stay in shape a little bit, so I can. Well, if I do run across him, I can reach up, jump up, and punch him in the mouth.
You
No,
know, Shirley Strawberry said he was walking upstairs and he was out of breath. He was
yeah,
out
she
of
did
breath.
say that. But you know what? I've seen videos where he's really doing serious workouts, and he looked to be in good shape. So I would have to be careful with him because he's much taller and bigger than me. So
Do you think Steve Harvey should fire her co-host for talking about him, dissing him? Do you think she
no,
should fire
and
her?
and ask yourself, and you got to ask yourself, why didn't he fire her? You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? Why didn't he fire her? No, I don't think you know why he didn't fire her, because she was telling the truth. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. So
Mm.
she spoke what was true. She know Marjorie's character. You see, but remember this. She had to say which was proper at that time, really to save her job. And it's a lot of things. Another thing that really in my mind, why hadn't he spoke out on these rumors about his bodyguard and Marjorie and other things? Now, he's speaking out about this issue with Miss Strawberry. So my thing is, man, address the other issues. Hey, that's a lie with these people. Just say it. Be transparent. You know why? I believe he can't and he's not, because I really believe there's some validity to that. I really do.
Mm.
hmm Now that's just my opinion. Everybody got opinion. Opinions like a butthole. Everybody got one. So that's just my opinion.
Because it won't surprise you if Marjorie is out there cheating. That will not
Well,
surprise
and again, Marquise, remember I told you when I was with her, I told you what type of person she was.
you. Exactly.
I told you. I'm just telling the
But
truth.
she did change because the communication ceased. At one point, y'all were talking. She was the wife holding you down, but that shifted.
Well, and again, people, for 20 years now, I'm just being fair and true again, transparent. For 20 years while I was in prison, man, she brought those kids to see me, our kids to see me. You see what I'm saying? And if anything I needed, I could call her. But of course I didn't, because I had a kind of elite prison job, so I was able to, take it myself. But anytime I had the phone number, I could call her anytime, day or night. She would answer the phone. I even had talked to her second husband, Donnell, and we had conversation. And I mean, he respected me as my kid's father, and he know that me and Marge was just friends, just co-parents from where I was. I mean, he was very, very respectful, and I really admired the dude. And so, but anyway, Marge, and again, for 20 years now, she was faithful as a friend. Not his wife. She had went on with her life, and my struggles were in prison, trying to get out of prison. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So what I'm saying to the audience, to your audience, is that she she changed drastically after she married Steve Harvey. Even when she was married to Donnell, her second husband, she was very affable, lovable, and it was the old Marjorie. You see what I'm saying? Jimmy, you need anything? What's up? You're good. Yeah. And so that's the truth of the matter.
I want people to understand you're going to get some tea out this book, your story, you lay it out. And I want to say thank you Snakes in the Garden. I mean, you name names from the judge to the DA to your right hand man to your brothers, sisters, mamas, cousins, grandma. You
Yeah,
really laid it out.
yeah.
And I think, I don't know if you ever had a conversation with any Hollywood producers, but this is a whole series I could see on television. Have anybody ever reached out to you and said to make Snakes in the Garden like a television series?
Not professionally, but everybody that read the book, I haven't gotten anything but great reviews, and the book,
Absolutely great reviews.
yeah,
The ebook is on point. I mean, it's just you laid it out there. I mean,
yeah,
you laid it out there. And I'm thanking you because most people can be bitter, they can
mhm.
go away depressed, but you took that and put it on paper and you still standing and still you didn't get destroyed. Yeah, you went through that, but yet you're writing a book. Are you going to go on tour? Because I know when we talked previously, they said you're thinking about going on a book tour.
Oh yeah, and actually I got some people in Chicago lining things up for a book signing in Chicago, and you definitely better be there.
Oh,
And
absolutely, I'm going to be there
yeah,
because I
we,
love to see people from my hometown just
mm,
turn your life around. And you need to be in Chicago because to tell brothers that's doing selling drugs now, that ain't the way to go. And
oh,
you know what I'm saying? You were more successful than some of these dudes that are doing it now. They're not pushing half the weight you were pushing.
right.
So I would love it. Speaking about Chicago, what advice do you give to the Chicago youth that want to sell drugs, want to be in gang, want to kill people, carjack? What advice do you give them from a guy that was formerly incarcerated?
I would say, and you know what? That's really this platform. I think God has used for me to be able to put me in a position where I can, talk to these youths, right? Because the things that I'm talking about, I've lived it. I'm not one that sit back and then talk about things that I haven't lived. I've experienced it. You name it. That's why I said I'm very transparent in the book. Uh, dealing with all the mental, physical, sexual, all those things, those issues. You see what I'm saying? And when it comes to the drug issue, uh, 99% of the people, if you really look at it statistically, you'll see the ones that was in drugs, ain't but one way you're gonna end up. And that's just the truth of the matter. That's death and incarceration. So the only thing I can do is tell my story. God has put in a position to where I can just tell my story. And some of them, not everybody's gonna hear you. You know that, Marquise. But
Absolutely.
you're gonna get the attention. You will get the attention when you're talking about something that you've lived, you've done, you've experienced in life. And so that's why I want to talk to the kids. In fact, my clemency, the protocol for the clemencies was presented, where they had a protocol, whereas you had to write the judge a letter. I mean, not the judge. I'm sorry, the president a letter telling him why he should give you clemency. And in my clemency letter, I write that when it was all said and done, I admitted my wrongdoing. I admitted that selling drugs especially the way I was selling it, and I was selling it big time. It was I don't care, small time or big time. It was wrong. I admitted my guilt. I admitted that I deserved to be reprimanded for what I did. Of
Yes.
course, I never agreed on a life sentence for a nonviolent crime. I never would, and never will. I didn't think I deserved that. But all that was political and all that. So, but anyway, nevertheless, and I told President Obama that if he would grant me clemency, that my promise to him is that I would go forth and talk to these youth uh, and tell them about the ills of selling drugs and using drugs. Not only selling, you got to remember too, Marquise, not only was I a drug dealer, big time, I also was big time drug user. I just want to just say this, that I thank you guys for listening to us. And again, Marquis, I thank you. I see you talking, but I can't hear you. I want to say thank you for inviting me